You've always served.
Well, and that's where you get your joy.
I say I got my strength from Dad and I got my compassion and my heart from you. There wasn't a child in a neighborhood that didn't love you, that didn't feel loved by you. Welcome back to the Living Louder podcast. I have my dad, who is pretty much the coolest person on the planet. And he was such a good father to me. So, Dad, thanks for coming.
You're very welcome.
There you are in your sunglasses and your hat. So I talk about...
I can take my hat off.
No, you're good. It's up to
Okay.
you. Yeah, you're
Either
good.
way.
You're good. It's up to you. So I talk about the strength that I felt being your daughter. You're always a hard worker and loved your children. And even the day that I was sentenced to go to prison, you were the one person that said, if you were one of my other kids, I might be worried, but I know you'll be okay. You're strong.
That was a true story. That's really how I felt about it.
Yeah.
Because it was too important for me not to try to say the right thing.
Yeah.
So I thought about that. And
Yeah.
that's what I came up with. And it turned out to be true. Yeah.
It turned out to be true. Yeah. What was it like for you when I was born to have your first child?
Oh, it was awesome. It was, I remember being at the hospital,
Mm-hmm.
which most of the children weren't born in a hospital.
Right.
That you was.
Uh-huh.
And so I was at the hospital waiting room.
Yeah.
And then, so my first vision of you was through the glass of the hospital waiting room. And there were a couple of other guys there. And everybody went over to look at you, and everybody said, "Oh, that's the most beautiful baby I ever saw." And I don't know how many times that I saw that, heard that from other people. As soon as you were the most beautiful baby, you really were.
Oh.
And so that's a memory that I've always had. But what I mostly remember for you as being my first child is that Misty wasn't that far
Behind me, 18
behind
months. Yeah.
Yeah. So as your mom developed and our relations developed, I was, at the time that you were born, I was still going to school every night,
Yeah.
5 nights a week. I had classes, and I was working full time
Yeah.
and taking overtime whenever I could for as a trainee as an engineering company,
Yeah.
PM Engineers. And I'm trying to deal with my speech because I had a stroke, and so
Yeah. You're doing great.
I,
But
yeah.
if you want water, I have some right here for you.
Oh, maybe just a sip.
Yeah. You did have a stroke and you have recovered really well. You're kind of
Mhm.
amazing now. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
You're good.
pretty happy about the fact that I'm
Doing-
okay.
Yeah.
78 years old and doing okay.
Yeah.
Better than my prognosis.
Yeah.
Because right after you were born, in fact, it was within a week or two that I was having a lot of pain with my back and other things with my body. And so Chris went to your doctor that
Yeah.
delivered you and called him one morning and asked him if he could take a look at you or something. And he said, well, bring a
Urine sample.
urine sample
Right.
because you were having an appointment the next day. And when we found that out, he found out that I had a serious kidney problem.
Right. You're a
Yeah.
kidney transplant recipient.
Yeah.
And you had years of you're a fighter. I know that. You fought through Vietnam, you fought through kidney failure, and you fought through a stroke, and
Yeah.
you lost a son, and you had a daughter go to prison, and you
And
had a lot of hard
was,
things.
When I was very young, I had the most beautiful life that you could ever find. But part of that life was doing a lot of fun things.
Right.
And some of those things caused me to get hurt.
Right. Which is the same childhood I had. We had a lot of fun, but there were times, yeah.
Yeah. I was almost killed with a horse when I was 16. I came right over the top. We were going to my friend's place that had a ranch, and we were going to practice for the high school rodeo.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, I had a lot of issues throughout my life with health but I'm one of the healthiest people for my age now.
Yeah.
The way I look at it.
You are a survivor. Who was your hardest child?
Well,
that's a tie.
It's a
tiebreaker.
I don't have a hardest child, I don't think. I've thought about this. And it all depends on the situation, who was the hardest child at any given time.
Yeah.
Because we loved each one of them, each of you. And each one had challenges.
Right.
Probably the easiest child we had, the two easiest ones would have been Kira and Donovan.
It's sad that I know the two hardest is me and Nick. The two easiest, Kira and Donovan. Shout out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And thank goodness for Kira and Donovan.
Yeah.
Yeah. And So my memory of you was like you were this hero, like always hardworking, knew I could. I remember one of the more tender moments for me was when I was in prison, and I called you because I had been really working on some accountability of the mistakes I'd made in my life. Mm-hmm. And I remember I called you, and it hurt so much to say these things these mistakes I'd made. Some of them were that I'd hurt you, some of them my children. And when I said it, I just sobbed, and you said, "Portia, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you."
And I was, and I still am.
Yeah. You're such a good dad.
You're making your life story to be a good one, and that's all we need to do for all of us. Yeah. And I'm so blessed to have had my grandfather and my mother.
Yeah.
Those are my two heroes of my life. And there's one thing I can say about my grandfather and my mother, is there was never a time, I can't think of a time, no matter what I did, which was some pretty bad things, that they didn't think I would be fine.
They didn't believe in you. They believed in you.
They always
Which is what I say is the highest value when I say my parents believed in me.
Yeah.
They believed I would find my way. But you also taught me, you and Mom were very non-traditional. You guys were studiers and readers, and you didn't follow the crowd. We lived out in the country, and we did things different, and you were okay with that. And I feel like when I got to prison, that I did not have to follow the crowd. I did not have to believe what everyone, I'm going to figure it out on my own. My parents taught me that.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful to
We're a MacGyver family.
We're going to figure it out in any situation. Yeah. And I mean, you did that in Vietnam.
Yeah.
You and Mom, both of you came, you were kind of on your own, and you started building this life because your father was an alcoholic. He passed, your biological father, you were raised by your stepfather. There were some challenges for both of you.
Mm-hmm. I had a beautiful stepfather. My brothers are just awesome.
They're awesome. I love them. Yes.
Yeah. My family is awesome all the way around.
And so is Mom's. We have such great family.
Yeah.
But then you guys had these 7 kids, and they all have strong personalities. They're big personalities. So, me, I got pregnant at 17, Misty not long after me. I'll bet that was pretty discouraging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was pretty rough.
Wasn't what you were hoping for your kids. You want to see them have a good life,
what I didn't want to have with my children was to have to be hooked up with a bad person.
Yeah.
Regardless of what age or anything else.
For sure.
To be with the right person for them, you know.
And I believe we've all found that, but it wasn't a straight shot.
No.
Like,
No.
Chad, could you be any happier?
Yeah.
I mean, Chad is such a good man,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, you know, I'll remind you that I spent my own time in jail.
I know. Hey, that's the first time we talked about that. Yeah, Dad had a little stint in jail too.
More than one.
Okay.
I was in 6 jails.
Wow.
Yeah.
You might have beat me. I think I only got 5. 1, 2. No, I got 6 too. We're even. Mine was a little longer though, Dad.
Well, Huntington Beach, I was only there for not very long.
Yeah.
For you know,
Yeah.
I didn't even I think I got out. Yeah, I got out before it was overnight.
Yeah.
But then I had to go to the Santa Ana jail, which is the worst.
That's a real bad one. That's right by where I was at in Dublin, Dad.
That was bad. And
This is
then,
all new information.
and then they took me to Theo Lacey.
Oh, I mean, I don't even know where that is. That doesn't sound good.
That's a really bad jail right now today.
Oh, okay.
But at that time, it was more of a minimum security type jail.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that was all from just one event.
Yeah.
Huntington Beach jail, Santa Ana jail, and then Theo Lacey was there for 10 days.
Yeah.
That the judge decided that I was a bad enough person to do that.
And how did you turn it all around? Because you married Mom, and I never went back to jail after that.
No.
You went to Vietnam, actually. You went to Vietnam, and that was pretty rough, but it probably might have turned things around for you too.
Vietnam for me, when I got drafted, I became the person that I am.
Yeah.
In a sense.
Like me with prison.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because I knew I had to go to Vietnam. Because I wasn't going to go join.
Yeah.
I was drafted.
You were drafted.
And I didn't want to go for 3 years.
Right.
I had the opportunity. They asked me if I wanted to go to OCS because I actually have a pretty high IQ.
I know you're smart. I don't know if I got that from you, Dad, but
yeah, I found that
not
out.
good at math.
I found out that when they started doing all the tests in the Army,
right,
for like 2 or 3 days of that, and then they kept trying to get me to go to OCS because I was above average on my stuff, and then they sent me to a special school.
Yeah.
Before I even went to basic training, and but I'm not going to go volunteer for 3 years when I could get out 2 years.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm not going to do 10 years in prison if I can do 5. I got you. Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
but
even though I knew I'd have to go to Vietnam, but if I'd have gone to OCS, I'd have probably still gone to Vietnam.
Right.
You know, but so when I went to Vietnam, when I got drafted, I made a choice to do the very best soldier I could be. I wanted to be the very best I could be. So I went to basic training. I became friends with 2 other guys, and we competed in every aspect of basic training.
Yeah.
Because all 3 of us wanted to be the best soldier we could be while we were in the military, because we knew we were going to Vietnam. Right. Everybody went there.
Yeah. And
so that's why they sent me to a special school again in between AIT. But I wasn't going to volunteer for anything. I'd go to the school because I could learn more.
Right.
So, and I actually did. I was very good with understanding the maps and the map reading and everything when I got to Vietnam because of that.
Yeah.
And so that was my time of rectifying myself, trying to rectify myself to make my life better.
Yeah.
And
And just for my viewers, my dad was in the thick of conflict. He was shot twice. He had 2 Purple Hearts. Came home, probably very difficult to come home from Vietnam after being in, for me, it was difficult to come home from prison in a very traumatic, like war, your high,
yeah,
your everything is escalated in your
Yeah.
life, and you come home, and then all of a sudden there's probably, like, for me, I felt alone. I felt weird coming back from prison. Probably felt that way when you came back from
I
Vietnam.
I had some issues when I
Yeah.
came back.
Yeah.
And one of the things that really brought me through that was that I came back to California, and my family had gone from California and were living in Utah.
Yeah.
But I came to California because that's the whole time I was in Vietnam. Like I don't ever have to go anywhere else from California from this time point forward, because that's where I was going to live. Period.
Right.
And what I decided to do in Vietnam was that I would continue to be the best soldier I could be. One of the things that I learned from other soldiers was that the most pertinent time to get blown away was when you first got there, because you don't know what you're doing, and usually other people will dial you in and stuff. But when you go in R&R,
Yeah.
when you're ready to go in R&R, your head's gone.
Right.
When you get back from Vietnam is the next
Dangerous
worst
time.
Yeah, it's the
A lot
worst
of people
time.
came home, and
Yeah.
the trauma made it difficult to
When they came
integrate.
back from Vietnam, they'd gone from the world.
Right.
They'd gone back to the world, and they hadn't realized they're still in Vietnam.
Right.
And then the next time is right before you get home,
Right.
because again, your head's gone.
Do you
So
think you
I
had
didn't do any of those things. I didn't take R&R for that very reason.
right.
And when I got home, I came right out of the bush from a mission.
Right.
Actually, I had my sergeant at the time didn't like me,
Yeah.
and so he was trying to get me to go on to another mission. And I was like, my DEROS date's coming in like 2 days. I'm
Yeah,
not
gotta
going to
go.
go on another mission. So I called my company commander, who was actually a good friend of mine at that point, because I'd been there for more than a year,
Yeah.
almost a year and a half, and because I extended
Yeah.
to get again, so I could get out of there and go on with my life. But
It's water.
anyway, so that's
Mhm. Do you think, like,
when I got back. My friend Tom Zerudik, I was living with him, and he talked to me not very long ago. We were on the phone, and he lives in Oregon, and he's my closest
longest
and
friend?
longest friend.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were surfers together. Had
A lot of fun.
awesome event, guitar players and musicians together, all of that. And so he reminded me about the nights when he would just hold me,
Wow.
because
You were so traumatized
Yeah,
coming
it
home.
was really
Wow.
hard.
Wow.
If a siren would go on in the middle of the night, and in Orange County, that does happen.
Happen all the time. Yeah. Wow. So I didn't know all this about you. I was just this young girl who thought my dad is so strong and so cool, and he had some anger issues,
Yeah.
which was probably a lot of the PTSD, just needing, feeling on
I
high
think it was
alert.
just the woman I married.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
No.
I just I feel like I hit the jackpot with parents. Like, I had this strong, determined dad. People look at things like PTSD as a death sentence. Like, I work with people and I'm like, absolutely not. There's this thing called post-traumatic growth, that when you've had something really hard happen, it can become a strength to you. You
Yeah.
can, like, I went through some really traumatic experiences in
Yeah.
prison, probably had PTSD. I did have PTSD, but navigating that and overcoming it has made me stronger
Yeah.
and more compassionate.
Right.
And I feel like the strength that you have, you pass down to your kids, at least me. Like, I feel like I got a lot of that strength from you.
Well, I look at my grandfather and my mother, and I'm not going to go through all the trauma that they went through, but I witnessed and lived through quite a lot of drama with them.
Right.
And my grandpa lost his farm
Yeah.
when I was a young boy, and there went my horse.
Yeah,
That
hard
came
stuff.
from a colt. And that whole experience. And then when the first time I went to jail, they put me in jail for like a month. I was still in high school, and they didn't know what to do with me because there was no one around there of my family.
Yeah.
And so my grandpa, who didn't have much money or anything else, but he came and got me.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget that feeling. And but that's who my grandpa was, and my grandma too. Didn't matter what it was or money or anything, they would be there for me.
So
They never bitched me out either.
So do you think you got your, like, when it came to me, who struggled so much and then went to jail and prison, because I never knew that about you. Like, all I ever knew is my dad's this hard worker. He has a regular job, plus he has animals, plus he has a side business, plus he has 7 kids. And my mom is this creative, fun, both of you very hardworking, had your own companies. So I didn't see that your younger years were rough, but you obviously turned it around. Do you think that you were able to see in me where she's making mistakes, but she's not lost? She can come back from that.
Absolutely. My life from 0 to 6 years old was the most golden life you could ever find.
Yeah.
In a ranch in Montana, northern Montana. I remember going with my grandpa when he would go work the fields, and he would drop me off, and there was an irrigation ditch right there, and it went right down to the Milk River, which was 100 yards away.
Yeah.
And I'd be playing with that all day long under the trees and finding snakes. And
well, it's interesting that it's perspective, though, because you say that your life was golden, and it was, but your mother was married to an alcoholic who she left him before you were even a year old.
A year and a half.
A year and a half. Okay, a year and a half. She went to college, and then you were raised by your grandparents. And I'm not saying that you didn't have a good upbringing, but I mean,
I did.
Most people would look at that and say, that's kind of hard, But for your view, and then all of a sudden at 5 or 6, you went and lived with your mother and stepfather.
Those are the reasons why I wanted to have the life and the children and the family that I had, was because they taught me to be that kind of a person. And that's why we lived in Salt Lake City when we got married.
You and
I had a really good job there.
Yeah.
But we left and went to Ridgefield
so that we could be raised in the country,
have a different lifestyle.
Yeah.
And we made it okay.
Made a good lifestyle. Yeah. We had a lot of fun.
I could have made more money. I could have gone to California and made a lot more money.
Yeah.
For sure. After once I had my degree and everything. But
I'm gonna ask you to give some advice or guidance to people that have kids that are stuck in the middle of hard things, because there were lots of years for you where your kids struggled. Me include, definitely me. I might maybe more than any of them, but what's your?
I can remember struggles for each one of you.
Yeah.
In different ways and stuff, and I still do.
Right. So what would you say to people that feel hopeless about their kids?
My way of being able to know that everything's okay is that there's examples in my life that make things okay. In other words, I think that everyone can find those examples.
So look for people that have gone through hard things and overcome it.
Right.
Okay.
And we might, and we forget, when I was younger, I didn't realize what a strong and wonderful person my mother was.
Right.
But she was always there for me and for all my brothers, always.
And she went through hard things, but she didn't give up. Yeah.
And no, she never. And so it doesn't have to be a parent.
Find someone that you can look to.
Tom Derudik's father, when I came back from Vietnam and I was in bad shape, he was a World War II vet.
Mhm.
My father wasn't around. I hadn't known him by then.
Yeah.
I met him when I was almost 25, and I'm the one that made that contact.
Right.
And he's a wonderful person.
Right.
He was a wonderful person. I wish I'd have had more years with him. But Tom's dad, Big Tom, he used to come to my apartment and pick me up. He was he ran a barge on Long Beach,
Mhm.
and so he would be off work for like 3 days in a row. And when he would, he'd come pick me up, and we'd go to Radio Shack or do whatever errands he wanted to do, or
So having someone who'd been through it and come back from it gave you strength to
Yeah.
come back from it.
Yeah. I didn't enlist him to do that. He did
just
that.
did that.
He just did that. And
Yeah.
then his parents offered to have me live there with them
Yeah.
and Tom. And so I did that for about 6 months.
Yeah.
And it really changed my life a lot. It really got me I was very fortunate that I came back to California and not to Utah,
Yeah.
where my parents were, because I don't think that would have worked out very well for me.
Yeah.
But by 6 or 8 months later,
Mhm.
then I was okay,
Yeah.
more or less,
Yeah.
But Tom's dad really helped me and was a real hero for me.
Yeah.
And you have to find them where they are.
Right.
You have to decide who you are.
To decide who you want to be.
When I got drafted, as I've said before,
Mhm.
I had to decide what am I going to do about it. A lot of people were just bums in the military as much as
Right.
they could be. I was the opposite, because it made more sense.
So as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking it's where I got my strength. Like I could have gone to prison and slept my time away, but I chose, I'm going to do this time and be the best person I can be.
Yeah.
And so what I would say to people that are going through something with a kid or anyone else, become the best you in that situation.
Yeah.
Work on you. You can't really fix your kids, but you can fix you. And as you work on you, you decide who you want to be.
And
they
people
will follow.
And the people that will help you will show up.
They will show up when you
just
decide.
like Tom's dad showed up.
Right.
I didn't expect that. He did that.
Yeah. But yeah, good advice. I want to talk to you longer, but I think I'm going to do this. we're going to wrap up this segment, Living Louder, with Cliff Wilcox, the OG who went to Vietnam, and my dad, someone I'm so proud of and I love so deeply. We're going to come back and we're going to talk with you and Mom and me and Shelby, because you also raised your grandkids. And thank you so much for joining us. Anything else you want to say, Dad?
No.
Yeah.
I think I'm just say this, is that look at the wonderful woman that I married, boy. Look how lucky I am. No one in Richfield knew what a great person that she was, but I found her out.
I love you, and I love
we
you.
found
each other.
And I'll just say this: when I met Chris, was in California, and she had come with my mother to visit
after you got
to
home
see
from
me.
Vietnam.
It's the first time that I had even seen my mother since I back from Vietnam. It was only about a month after I came back.
Yeah.
And that night, she wanted to go to the beach, and it was nighttime. And we had several guys there. We'd been playing pool at Tom's place, and that's where they showed up. And so I said, okay, we'll go to the beach, which is a half-hour drive from where we were at.
Yeah.
And so we went down to the beach and enjoyed that. And the reason that I ended up marrying her is that that's the first woman that ever tried to give me a kiss my own self. So it's like, this woman's got something on the ball.
So I have the OG hippie, my mom, in the house. So grateful that she's willing to come and have this conversation. We'll probably get my mom and dad together on the podcast, but I thought I'd start it out with you. So Thanks for coming, Mom.
You're so welcome.
So my first question is, what was it like to be my mother? Okay, no.
There's nothing like holding your first child in your arms. Such a miracle. And you look down and you can't believe it's a part of you. And Portia, that's, I have so many kids. I get,
You're okay.
You've been a miracle.
Such a pain in the butt, though.
No, none of your children are a pain in the butt. They're just so much to love and so much joy. And even if there was some struggles, what the hey? It's a struggle to milk a goat early in the morning when it's freezing. It's a struggle to change 1,000 diapers. It's a struggle to do 1,000,000 dishes.
Yeah.
But it's so worth it. Each child that we have, I don't even know how to describe it. Yeah. But I love you. I love each of the 7. And I was saying to Dad this morning on our way over that how can you love one more or less than the other? And you as a mother know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Portia, you are such a forge ahead. I mean, your whole life was pushing to learn, to get experience, to find out. I could see that. Oh. I'm sorry. I don't know what's wrong with me.
No, I appreciate you being. I see you as this incredibly talented, kind, compassionate person who, entertaining and so loving. And my gratitude as your daughter extends far beyond what you did for me, but you raised my children when I couldn't. And you loved me, even though I've done some things to hurt you, not just once or twice, like it's so many things. And I just think you have loved me and believed in me.
I don't know what's not to love.
Oh,
what does our Father in heaven say about his children? There's not one he doesn't love.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's so much to love. It was the greatest joy of my life, being a mother and a wife, actually.
Yeah.
I wish I'd have been better at both. But, you do the best you can.
Oh, I think, your childhood wasn't easy. I don't know if I told you this. So your mother passed away before I was born, and it would be difficult. I remember when I had Jace and I just was so scared and didn't know what to do. And I was so glad you were there. You've always been there for every one of my kids. And, and your dad was a photographer. You grew up in a studio and kind of a hippie, kind of an out of the box thinker.
Yeah. There were no rules. There were
no rules for you. Right.
No.
And, no rules for us. But last year, Chad and I drove down to the Manti Temple just to go to the temple. If you're not LDS, it's just a place where we go and do religious practices. And that day, and I remember telling I told Chad, I said, I don't really feel that close to my grandparents. I didn't know my grandmother. Right. And, I wasn't around my grandparents a lot. And then when I walked in that temple, I felt the strongest presence of your mother.
My mom.
And I thought, she's been with me the whole time. I could have never survived everything. And I believe in angels. I believe that you're so loved. I mean, your dad loved you so much. And, your kids love you so much. But what you gave me was this confidence in myself. Like, I don't even think I know you don't have the confidence in yourself that you gave to your kids.
No, right now I feel like I'm drawing from your power and all the other kids' power to hold me up. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. I think the older we get, even me, I look at my kids and I'm like, I need you now. Like, as we get older,
You do. And the love that you give me keeps me going. It makes me so happy. Man, I lay there at night and I think about each kid and each little funny thing they did. And, and so there was hardly any fighting amongst the kids when you kids were little.
Me, I was rotten to the rest of
It
them.
doesn't matter.
Yeah.
There really wasn't a
Yeah.
lot of contention.
There was a lot of
I mean,
playing
you
and
got a
having
lot,
fun.
but you're definitely a leader. And when you're a leader,
Yeah.
you're gonna get in trouble.
I was a leader. I am
Yeah.
a strong leader.
You
I know
are a
that.
strong leader and such a good example to your parents now.
But I
It
wasn't
just
always. You know what I
doesn't
mean?
matter.
See, now this is what I'm talking about.
It's now.
But when I was in prison and people would say, "Are your parents so mad at you?" And I'm like, "My parents love me. They're so proud of me."
Mad.
Oh. But there were some hard years. There were some hard years.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, it isn't over till it's over.
Right.
And it's still going and it just gets better every year.
Yeah.
And even with Nick, our loss,
Yeah.
gosh, I sit and think of the little boys. And I think of you, the little girl,
Yeah.
and growing up into the great woman you are. And each of our children, it's just, I'm so proud. I'm so proud.
That's Mom's.
Mine's out there going.
Hey, Shelby, take my mom's purse and put it in my room. Has a phone. It's just right out there, but Tasha and Felix will probably call and we don't know how to turn it off. So just put it in my room and that will solve that problem.
We have such a progeny. Is that the word? Prodigy?
You have a legacy.
Legacy.
Yeah.
And, Mom died when I was 19.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know Mom. You know Mom better than I because you went to the temple and met her.
Yeah.
And found out she was with you. And I don't feel, I just can't wait to get to know her.
Yeah.
I want to know her as the woman and wonderful mother she was.
Yeah.
Instead of a young, selfish little girl
that you were at
that
time.
I were.
But see, what a gift it is for me that I got to live long enough to become a decent daughter. That's a blessing because we all start out kind of selfish, and I think what I want people to know is it's just not over. You can transform.
Oh, no.
Things can change. I want to talk a little bit about Nick. I haven't yet shared his story. I feel like I love him so much and I'm so proud of every hard thing he overcame. And I don't know, I thought about having Kira here. I thought about, as we talk about Nick, but you've experienced about every painful thing a person could. You lost your mother young. You've lost a child. You had a daughter go to prison. I mean, how does a person how do you survive all that?
You push through. You just see that there's another bright side to everything.
You keep serving. You've always served.
Well, and that's where you get your joy.
Yeah.
When you give love, you get it back so much more than you ever gave. And serving people, I even wake up in the morning thinking, gosh, who can I help? Yeah. I've got to help somebody. So I put it on a card and look at it. And I think the little things, I think about some of the little kids that I tended that were so scared and so sad.
You were so compassionate. We had neighbor kids so I get to work with kids that have been in and out of foster care. And I always say I got my strength from Dad and I got my compassion and my heart from you. There wasn't a child in a neighborhood that didn't love you, that didn't feel loved by you.
Well, you give them candy and food and money and toys.
You gave him love and you saw the best in him.
I just love children. It's a blessing I have.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Some people say, oh, they make me nervous. They're hard to be around. What? They just look at you like who you are. They're so authentic. They see me and not the words,
Yeah.
Not that I'm getting old and ugly, except one of the grandkids said, you are getting old and ugly, Grandma. And I said, thank you for the honesty. At 77, I deserve some wrinkles,
Right. How do you feel? Do you feel like you're a talented person?
No, I feel like I'm a show off.
You're not.
Well, no. When I was younger, I would get angry at just about everybody. If they crowded in a line at school lunch, then I found out that doesn't work.
Yeah.
But if you can make them laugh, You know what I mean?
Yeah. You're so talented, though. You are.
No, it's being willing to make the biggest fool of yourself. But if somebody wants me to be me,
Yeah.
that's really hard work.
Yeah.
As stupid as you want, and
Yeah.
kids laugh.
Kids laugh and they
And
love it.
Funny comes straight from God.
Yeah, it does.
Humor and joy.
You were such a good actress and writer and photographer. I just see you as so talented and creative.
I squeaked by, Portia. You're the one.
No, I got
I've
those
read your stuff. You can't fool me. I'm your mom.
Yeah,
No, you're good. Oh, I'm so proud. Dad and I, as we drove here, how could we be much prouder of Portia? I mean, look at her. She helps us through now all of our hard stuff. You helped me through my loss with my son. I miss him so much. I
do too.
miss him. But like you say, he went when he was ready.
Yeah.
I know I did everything I could. You did everything you could. And
he was suffering. He had
he was
suffered so
suffering.
much.
Yeah.
And nobody was like Nick. Nick was so strong and so brave, and he suffered so much.
Anyway, the hurt is so hurtful.
Yeah, the pain is
It's painful, but it's wonderful.
Yeah.
I don't know how to put it. I know I'll see Nick again.
Oh,
I
yeah.
know he's with me now. I saw a little white feather this morning, and I found an old crumpled butterfly, and that's just, come on, Nick.
Yeah. Well, I hope you know what an impact you've made on the world as a mother and a grandmother and all the good that you've done, every kindness. And
Oh, well, thank you, Portia.
yeah, I love you so much.
I
So
love you too. I just do.
I know you do, and I feel that.
Yeah.
So. Welcome to the Living Louder podcast. Today in the house is my mom and dad, the most amazing people who raised 7 kids in the country, and my sweet daughter Shelby. And then they raised their grandkids. So yeah, we're going to talk about it. They have kids that went to prison, all kinds of
got
crazy.
out,
Yeah.
did well.
So yeah, here we are. Shelby, when I told Shelby that I was going to be talking to you guys today, she's like, I want to come over. So Shelby and I actually did a little interview, and she talked about what that was like.
I watched that quite a while ago. I've watched it a couple of times.
We just did another one today.
Oh, did you?
She talked about Part two, yeah.
Cool. All right.
She kind of talked about what it was like to be raised by me and you guys.
Insane people.
No, so what do you guys remember about Shelby when she was a little girl?
Goodness. Bundle of joy.
She was
The
always
minute
so
she
sweet.
She came into this
Do you
world.
remember on the way to the hospital getting lost? Driving
Well,
me?
I get lost on the way.
I know, everywhere. She's the wrong person to drive me to the
I always
hospital.
leave time for that, but not birthing.
Yeah.
Shelby was a sweet tart.
Yeah. She's the sweetest
She
little.
was a sweet tart.
Yeah.
All dressed up in satin.
You can call her a sweetheart, but she was a sweet tart.
She was kind of tart. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember her one time threatening one of the boys, Dusty, like farted on her or something. And she goes, if you do that again, Dusty, I'll stab you.
I was so tired of it.
And I was standing.
That's what happened to him.
I was walking through the living room when that happened. And Chris was on the couch in the living room next to them.
Yeah.
And Chris turned around
Whatever.
and said to Shelby, Shelby, that's horrible. You shouldn't say that. You know?
What did Shelby say? She probably said, but it's true.
Yeah.
I think that's exactly what she did. But it's true, Grandma.
And he hasn't farted on me since. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you remember about Grandma and Grandpa?
oh my goodness. Grandpa, I remember anytime you saw me in the living room, it was like you would walk through the living room and like grab my hands, flip me on my feet, and just like, it was just like right when I saw Grandpa, I knew I was going to go from one end of the room to the other somehow in some type of flipping form.
Yeah.
And
He used to lay on his back and flip all the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did.
I learned
Stand on
that from
his
my
hand.
uncles.
You did?
Yeah.
From my own upbringing with my
You'd flip
my
them.
4 uncles.
Yeah, I thought
Yeah.
when I was little, I remember I would stand on your hands and then I could do a flip off your hands. And
I used to have you guys. I'd stand up and you guys would
Stand on your.
stand on your hands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like
And then I'd flip you down.
Yeah.
And you go, "Woo!"
Yeah. So the fear of flipping, I learned that really
And she's
young
a
to not be
gymnast.
afraid.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. Well, that's
It's a legacy in our family.
That's
All of
the-
us could do back handsprings, flips, and stuff. Yeah.
that's the reason why we left from the city, was to have the life that we wanted to have, and that was all part of that, in a sense.
And I mean, my upbringing was in the country, and I had a lot of fun. But for Shelby, she was born when we lived in Sandy, but we still in Sandy managed to have a country vibe. We had trampolines, and we had there were lots of fun things.
We had a great big yard,
Yeah, we did.
great big yard,
Yeah.
and we filled it up with things like broken up merry-go-rounds that kids could die on.
Wheelchair.
Two or
Dangerous.
three trampolines, you know.
Dangerous.
Wheelchair ride.
If you can survive a Wilcox upbringing, you'll turn out just fine.
You'd take one trampoline and put it on a slope, and then, you know, because there was a hill that went down. So
Oh, we'd jump from the roof to the tram. Yeah.
yeah.
It's just so fun having so many kids around. I don't know why.
Do you remember the Ferris wheel that we picked up
Yeah.
off of somebody's yard that was throwing it away?
Yeah. I said, load that baby in the truck, man.
That's a gem.
I
Get
said,
that.
you want money? And they go, no, get it out of here.
Oh, every kid in our
No
neighborhood
seatbelts,
was trying to
no.
play that thing, but I was afraid someone was going to get killed because they were idiots. You know, my kids knew better.
My
Yeah.
kids knew how to handle. We had
They
a.
know they were
Didn't
going to.
we have a,
fingers are going to get pinched.
We had a what's it called, zip line.
Zip line.
Oh,
We had,
yeah.
we had a
yeah.
few zip lines.
That was pretty fun. I built a great big shed with scrap lumber from an old granary. It was like 100-year-old granary. The lumber, it was stacked lumber.
Right.
And my
Few
friend,
slivers.
Uncle Ed,
Uncle.
Don't
We
they-
always had some friends, some interesting, eclectic people that would come by and help.
I hired him. Well, I let him use my trailer and my chainsaw and some of my tools because he was going to demo this great. I mean, it was like, you know,
Great big shed.
yeah, 50 feet high, you know, and it was a granary made out of lumber, really good lumber because it was way back from 100-year-old.
Back when lumber was good.
But we built a shed that was 35 feet by 20 odd feet, and half of it was my block fence that I had around my yard,
Right.
and then the rest of it was the lumber that we built, and then the roof system. I put a high-pitched roof on it, so we had an attic.
Yeah.
And then we
And
had
that's where you had the zip
we
line
put a
come.
deck off the attic, and then on the peak of the roof, I put a zip line that came down to the bottom of
Yeah.
So
So kids were flying right now. Missed the
We
burning
got some
trash
good survival
pile.
skills.
I remember I was the first one. I
think you got hurt the first time on that zip line. You
First
hit the
man
ground.
down. White House down. I zip lined to the trash because I'd thrown $600 cash away, and I was just sure it was in the trash, so I zip lined to there and went through it. That was a fun deal. At least it wasn't on fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was
Cliff
hard.
tried to light it.
Didn't Nick burn down one of the sheds?
Pump house.
Pump house.
Yeah, I don't
This
know.
is all
who-
before, after Shelby.
I don't know.
See,
who
this is your
dumped
roots.
It out.
Yeah,
I
these are
don't-
your-
Yeah, I don't know who burned it down, but
Somebody did.
somebody did.
We had seriously, we floated down canals, we
Yeah.
built huts, we rode
I was right
motorcycles
there
and
with you.
horses. I know. Yeah. But it was a fun childhood. It's not what people experience now with cell phones and all
No,
of the
no.
things. I'm grateful that we had it. But it was probably also I don't think I would want to raise my grandkids. Not to be mean. I probably would though. I think if my kids were struggling, but was that not hard for you?
You would do it. Yeah.
I would do it, but I
It
just
was
think,
not just hard, it was fun.
yeah, but
I mean,
think it would
I
have been
got
so
tired
hard.
that one night. Shelby wanted me to play sorry.
Sorry, she would play sorry over and
Over and over. And, I would be up all night and up all day. I didn't sleep for 30 years. But
I always could wake you
fun.
up. if I ever
Grandma, I
was
wanna play
scared or
sorry.
play sorry, or I wanted
It's just
tomato
like there's
soup. Or,
not enough you can do for,
Yeah.
for
Tomato
kids.
soup, yeah.
They're so
yeah. So
Shelby
grandma
and
would
Jace. Yeah.
do anything for anybody. That's just how everyone knows grandma as.
It's so much.
That include all the neighbors' kids.
Yeah.
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 If my kids went to Lagoon, it was like,
That's what Don said. All the neighbor kids are invited. You want to go to Lagoon? Let's go.
yeah, she used
It's
to.
fun. Life is for fun.
I always had to find a van that I could fix up and fix.
Big popper. We used to jump over the canal in that van. He had a big foot,
Yeah.
a gas pedal.
Big gas pedal.
And kids would go faster, faster, faster. And I back up into the mountain. And we get going 100 miles an hour, hit a bump, and fly over the canal. Hit on all the, what are they called, shocks? They were
You mean
shocks.
those things that were broken? You mean?
So we had a repairman.
Yeah, those were called
I saw your
shocks.
wife go by with the van full of kids.
Harold, she broke the shock brackets and everything else, and so I took it over to Harold Boyder, who was my buddy. And he had a welding shop and a Harley shop, so it was like paradise.
Yeah.
Man, I did a lot of hanging out with Harold, but anyway, so yeah, I brought that van into him, and I showed him the shocks and stuff, and he said, "Well, it looks like your wife hasn't changed anything."
Still jumping the canal.
He lived down the street, on the same street, about 3 blocks down from where Chris
Where I
grew
was
up.
raised.
Yeah.
So he's like, "Yeah, I remember when she was young. Yeah, I know what happened."
It just, it was fun, flying high and hitting hard.
Yeah.
That was living in those small towns had a lot of fun things just in general. With, like, for instance, with Boyder, he was the funniest guy. You could just,
Great sense of humor.
yeah, just.
I remember him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember one day there was a wreck because there was a dairy right down this.
Oh, I remember this.
Yeah.
This was interesting.
This is-
There was, and the phone call was made, there's a bunch of yogurt on the freeway, come get what you want. And Mom and Dad took off with a great big trailer. And they loaded up as much yogurt as they could get.
Well, we had to
yogurt.
get past the guy that was guarding the mountain. And I said, I hear somebody was really hurt. And he said, yes. Do you know that person?
She's like, I came with first aid and a trailer for the yogurt.
Yeah. He said, well, go ahead.
We had yogurt. It was Yoplait.
Yeah,
It was the good
yogurt
stuff.
for years, we called it.
That was the adventure that I grew up in.
But Boyder got on top of a great big diesel with a
welder.
torch.
He's a
Yeah,
welder.
and
Blew him up.
big explosion.
Yeah.
It blew him across town. I mean, he's quite a character. After that, he was real careful. You had to have the gas out of your tank. Oh, life was good. Life still is.
Small town life was great. Like
Yeah.
I was mentioning the other day, I think to Chris, you remember Blake Barney? He was a barber just down the street. from-
Alliteration. Blake Barney the barber.
Barney the Barber.
So they used to call him Barney the Butcher. Of course.
Well, we got to cover the grandkid
Everybody had
segment.
Oh, you're
nicknames.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, it
I
was.
just wanted Shelby to hang out with
I
this.
just
because-
remember being at the pool with Shelby. She couldn't wait to get in the water.
Do you remember how little she was when she started swimming? I
Oh,
think she was
yeah.
like
About
18
eight-
months old.
yeah.
She looked like a little
Little
people
turtle,
and
yeah.
people would come to our house and say, "Will you take that little kid that can swim over to the pool and just show my family who's in town that there's a kid that little that can swim?" And you could throw her across the pool and she would paddle right back to you. And she just
yeah.
barely could talk.
Yeah,
Just like a little puppy.
yeah.
Yeah.
Shelby was saying, being raised, she knew that, because she didn't have a father before Chad and I got married, but she said, I always had grandma and grandpa. So I didn't feel like I
Same.
didn't have a family. I knew it. And probably the same for you, Dad. You were
Oh,
raised
yeah.
by your grandpa, so you had that
So I
male
say it
figure.
was a
It's
golden
fun.
childhood for
It's
me.
just fun.
Probably for you too, really,
Yeah.
in many ways.
If you're loved, you're loved,
Right.
Yeah.
and you know you're loved.
Yeah.
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 But she has memories of me when I was younger struggling with smoking and then struggling getting sober. And that probably was discouraging for you guys because you have grandkids, you have my kids that you're trying to raise, and you see me struggling and you're like, I can put myself in your shoes and thinking I would want my daughter to be a good mother and to be okay and to be able to take care of these kids.
I actually, and just as you were talking about, I don't recall ever a time where I felt put upon about that.
Or overwhelmed.
By taking care of the kids?
No. It just was, it was so much better than nothing to do.
You would probably rather have us in your home
Knowing
knowing that my mom
Knowing
had
it was
an
okay.
addiction rather than trying to push
Yeah.
my mom out with
I
us to go
always
with
did.
her.
I always
Nobody
felt that
could
way.
take
I
you
still
from
feel
us.
that way.
Yeah.
I still want our family to be together and have
Yeah.
ourselves
one.
together and take care of each other.
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
And so when one's struggling, which I was, you guys pick up the slack until I'm strong enough that I can.
Just glad we could.
Yeah.
So happy we could.
Yeah. Well, you
That's
really saved
You do.
my children because there could have been a lot worse. They were in a safe place while I was struggling.
Yeah. So my grandma and my mom,
They did the same.
grandpa, and my
It's
uncles,
family.
they saved
It's-
me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can remember diving off these great big high bridges and crap. I remember my Uncle Noli. I wanted to go off the bridge like.
All the big
Well,
kids.
they made a great big Tarzan route. And when I'm talking about a bridge, this is a big bridge, not a small one. This is the Milk River. It was a pretty big river.
Yeah.
And they had a Tarzan rope they put on the on the center of that bridge, so you could come from the shore and you could go
Several miles.
all swing around that, and so I kept telling them I wanted to go on the Tarzan rope, and they wouldn't let me. And finally, they let me.
How old were you?
Whoa. Oh my gosh.
Maybe
It'll
yeah,
teach him how to swim.
maybe even 4. I
Yeah.
don't know. But I wasn't 6. I guarantee you that.
Yeah.
I was little.
Wow.
And of course, Grandma and Grandpa were on.
They didn't know.
They
Yeah.
know.
I guess they just figured, he'll either
Live or die. Sink or swim.
sink or swim.
Swim.
So anyway, I remember going. It was so fun to go out that rope and everything, and they had told me, they said, just go once because otherwise you'll get stuck in the middle.
Yeah.
And you can't swim in that current or
Caught in a
anything.
squat.
You'll drown,
Yeah.
So, of course, I went just once and twice.
Twice.
And and then I'm in the center of the bridge. and-
Hanging there.
Yeah. So now
They had to rescue.
I'm way up here where they are, and down in the river is way down from me, right? I'm about halfway. And my Uncle Noli says, go ahead and just let go of the rope, I'll get you. So he dives into the river right when I jump up, and he got me and took me up, but that's how I grew up.
Right.
And so if you think about it, my kids were out playing in the
River.
in the Sevier River.
Yeah. We
Float
were.
down the canal?
I'd go
Yep.
I'd go out after work. I'd go out and saddle up my horse and go for a ride, and I'd look and I'd see all my garden tools are gone, and I'm like, oh crap! The kids went down to the river building huts.
On motorcycles.
Yeah, and I'd
We
go
did.
driving. I'd go on my horse and I'd find all my stuff out there. I mean, I had a former racehorse out there.
That wasn't Fiam, was it?
Fiam.
No, that was.
Oh, the Arabian.
I remember getting
I
thrown
mean,
off
the
that
big
horse.
brown one. Yeah. Big
Okay.
racehorse.
Yeah, and I can't remember who it was.
Didn't we have an eagle once? Somebody
Yeah.
told me that's not legal.
Well, it is.
An
if the-
illegal
if
eagle?
if the wing broke. then-
The wing broke and we had cages out in the country and you kind of nursed it back to health
Yeah.
didn't you, and then let it
A
go.
couple of hawks and an eagle.
Hollyhock.
We had all kinds of pens, animal pens and sheds.
I brought them clear back up to Salt Lake, and gave to the aviary there.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
We had 25 cats.
I know that we had 25 cats.
Shall we miss?
Because we lived out in the country.
People said they must want a cat.
They drop,
throw it out
people
the
would drop
window.
their cat
Yeah.
because mom couldn't, every cat she had to feed. There was no way.
There
And
were 25, and they'd all cling to my legs. I'd walk out the door in my cat legs, cat women. But and
she
when
had
we
25
had that,
kids and 25 cats.
when we had that flood,
Yeah, so we had a massive flood. Like our whole house flooded. And here was the interesting, when the Sevier River flooded in the 80s, the water's rising, our furniture is floating. Around. My dad's out there trying to build, we're trying to put a dam, and the neighbor decides to build a raft, so he rafts over and picks each of us up. And my mom is trying to save the cats and the ants.
cats.
She has pans that she's getting and putting them on dry ground, and the kids are all this, hey, Mom, we'll see you later. They all know how to swim. They've been in the canal for years. This water won't
Well, the
hurt them.
Boy Scouts came out and snorkeled around. But
It was a magical childhood.
It was very magical.
It was a magical childhood. And Shelby had some of those things too. And life isn't the same now, and you still have to figure out how to make it kind of
It
magical
was
for your
safe,
kids.
though.
Yeah.
It was
It
safer.
felt
was
safe.
safe.
Here's the difference though, and this
Yeah.
is something that you've learned. With the internet, people are scared.
Yeah.
Like everyone's scared what could go wrong. Like we didn't have
Right.
instant
We didn't have that.
access to
Yeah.
somebody drowned. Like me, I'm scared of hot tubs because I see all of these kids dying in hot tubs. I wasn't scared of anything when I was
No.
young. So
Well,
I think that there's differences now.
At,
you know?
at that time, even though seatbelts were legal,
No.
I never wore a seatbelt. We
But the only
drove in the
time-
back of the truck all the time.
yeah. If anybody was driving around town with all the seatbelts on, the cops would stop them, man.
Yeah, something's wrong with
Who are these people?
out of towners.
I
That's
don't
what
even.
they
I think
are.
a lot of our
They might
cars
be
didn't even
criminals.
have seatbelts in our cars.
No, kids are flying all over,
It was a lot different for sure. But I also recognize
The
that
county sheriff didn't have a seatbelt.
Well,
Give him
there's a
break.
need.
life is different in the country for sure, and I'm sure that still goes on in some places in the country. But
Yeah.
times change, and that's okay. Like I think that there's perks and benefits
Yeah.
of the world today that we didn't have then.
Oh.
For me, what I love is that my children had the strength of our family. They had that, and that was a big part of their upbringing. And now they pass those things on to their kids. Jace isn't here, but Jace, that kid loved to fish and loved to, and
I used to take him fishing.
fishing. I know that's what we would do.
Dollar
We'd
fish. I go, here's $20, please.
just make sure he gets fish. And then, I married Chad and we built a life, and he's been a wonderful father, but
Well, and he grew up in a same
he
kind
grew
of
up in a
Yeah.
country too. Yeah. Yeah. Life is different in the city, but I don't regret it. I'm glad that we live in the city.
It's,
Yeah.
it's all good.
It's the right time and the right place.
I have a wonderful home now,
Yeah. You still live, got a nature preserve in your
Yes, you
backyard.
do.
12 acres.
12. It's got a backyard, 12 acres.
Well, I'm not sure that we really discussed any topics, but we had a really fun conversation.
Yes, we
So I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for joining us again on the Living Water podcast. We'll bring my mom and dad back because they are interesting.
Yes.
And Shelby, thanks again for,
Thank you, Shelby.
all right, it's a wrap.